The Trump thing is fucking mental. Like, there are so many clips going around Twitter from it of Trump just saying the most deranged shit.
My beautiful Christians, I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You gotta get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not gonna have to vote.
Trump speaks at Turning Point USA Summit yesterday.
All right, so the former president here kind of walking across the stage as he usually does, trying to greet all of the supporters and attendees.
And this is the kind of event that might give them a full-blown war. I don't know.
That have
I don't think it will. No, it won't. It won't. It's my guess. Maybe it will. I don't know.
Out to this over in West Palm Beach in Florida. Once again, this event is Turning Point USA's The Believers Summit. And Trump has had quite a busy day. Earlier today, he met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his Mar-a-Lago estate. We have played some of those clips a bit earlier, and we are monitoring to see what comes out from that meeting that Trump had with Netanyahu. We know that Netanyahu has had a busy week here in the U.S., first in Washington, D.C., where he addressed a joint session of Congress that happened on Wednesday. And then just yesterday, he did meet with President Joe Biden, and afterwards he met with the Vice President Kamala Harris, who is now throwing her hat into this race to try to get that Democratic nominee. So we are going to stick with this event here in West Palm Beach in Florida, anxiously awaiting to see what Trump is going to say and speak on. He has been turning out to so many of these different rallies and speaking engagements ever since that attempted assassination happened almost 2 weeks ago now over in Butler, Pennsylvania. We've also been watching the former president. He has been sporting a Band-Aid on his ear ever since
There we go.
During his remarks. Let's listen in.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. This is a nice crowd. We're going to be talking a little bit about a wonderful thing called religion tonight. Is that okay?
Oh, God.
A little bit more than normal, and that's good. That's really good. And I just want to say hello to everybody and to Turning Point for the fantastic job that Turning Point does. Thank you very much, Turning Point. This is a great group. This is from corner to corner. This room is packed, and there are a lot of people outside. But we have to forget about them, right? We just have to. It's the way life goes. But I'm thrilled to be back with so many proud, hardworking American patriots who believe in faith and family, God and country. Thank you very much. And we want to thank each and every one of the believers in this.
What happened?
Something was working, that we know. Something was working, so I thank you very much. And I stand before you tonight thanks to the power of prayer and the grace of Almighty God. As I think you can see, I've recovered well, and in fact, just took off the last bandage off of my ear. I just got it off. I took it off for this group. I don't know why I did that for this group, but that's it. I think that's it. I hope that's it. Let me also thank Charlie Kirk for hosting this event and for his leadership, as well as Bishop Aubrey Shines. Thank you, Bishop. A great friend of mine, a tremendous woman of...
Oh, shit. I can't watch it. I just can't watch it. Fuck me. I can't watch the whole thing. I can't do it. Because all I really need to see... Do you remember when Charlie Kirk debated Tanky? Yeah, it was very cringe. They were both insanely cringe. We got close about that ear. Don't care.
And this woman of faith.
No, I feel like I'd rather watch the Sneeko Moist Critical. I feel like I'd rather watch that. Where's the bit where he's talking about Christians and how they only need to vote for him once? Because I want the context. People say there's context, obviously. So here's the context. I'll just go from like a minute earlier. So apparently Trump said some mad shit about voting and might have said the quiet part out loud, but who knows? To be fair, he said it's not even a quiet part out loud. It's a bit that he's been saying out loud for a long time, but okay.
You know, We won 2 world wars out of certain forts, like Fort Bragg and other forts, Fort Lee, many forts. They changed the names of those forts. They changed their names. We left, they changed the names. No longer Fort Bragg. And the people in that area, they're not happy. But we won 2 world wars out of these forts. As an example, Fort Bragg, proud. We won 2 world wars. Let's change the name. On day 1, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children.
We're listening here to former President Donald Trump speak at this event in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Get everyone you know and vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out.
You have to vote. You have to vote for a rigged system that they're going to rig. Yeah, if I lose. Only if I lose, it'll be rigged. Yeah, you have to vote, though. Apparently, you should still vote.
And vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
When I first heard this, I thought it was an AI thing because I heard it through someone's fucking laptop on a phone call. I thought it was an AI meme. I didn't think it was real. The way he's talking, it's even for Trump, like the cadence is a bit, oh God. Now, people might say, first of all, let's see if there's context, okay? Before we say quiet part out loud that Trump wants to try and become a dictator, even though he's already tried to become a dictator, he has tried to stay in office despite losing an election. He did this by knowingly repeating false claims about the election. He did this by repeating claims about the election that he was told were false by all of the top people that he trusted throughout his presidency. He coordinated a scheme of fake electors to try and go to 7 states where he had lost and tried to get them brought up at the certification of the votes. He tried to pressure Mike Pence and other people to accept the votes as legitimate when they went for certification on January 6th. You can see in the speeches with him, Eastman, Giuliani, all the people who were involved, they talk about it in their speeches before January 6th. They talk about how they wanted Pence to either just unilaterally accept the fake votes that were for Trump in states where he had lost, where he knew he had lost. They had another plan, which might have been to put it to a House vote where Republicans had the majority and they could have just voted Trump president, or he wanted to send it back to the states, which means that they say that no one can win right now, so we need to investigate voter fraud in these 7 states for another 5 or 10 days, which apparently would give Trump enough time to pressure people. He's been recorded on the telephone telling people like Raffensperger in Georgia that he needs them to get 11,780 votes, which is one more than which is 1 vote more than what he lost by. He was offered evidence to show that the video he was using to show voter fraud was out of context, that it was clipped up notoriously and maliciously. And his response was, I have a better link. I don't need your link. I have a better link. He went to Pennsylvania to try and get voter fraud investigated there. They said, no, there's no evidence. The Supreme Court said there's no evidence. 4 top Republican legislatures in Pennsylvania said that there was no evidence of voter fraud and that they wouldn't allow Trump to certify fake electors. Trump called them cowards. He retweeted someone who called them cowards. And then a few weeks later, went on stage January 6th and said that Pennsylvania wants to recertify with no evidence. He knowingly lied about so many different things about this election because when people started moving towards the Capitol, people started getting violent. He did not call them off. He exploited that violence and spent the first few hours, like the first period of that riot, trying to convince people, Mike Pence, to do the right thing and to do what he wanted to, which was either to accept Trump's votes or to send it back to the states. He tried to coup the government because he is a wannabe dictator. He is a failed dictator, right? Fuck. But maybe there's context. Is there any evidence of this? Yes. Yes, there's quite a lot of which part do I need evidence for? The Eastman and the Cheeseboro memos? I'll call him Cheese Bro. Okay, I don't care what his actual pronunciation is. Do we need Giuliani from the speeches? What do you want? Do you want to see like a timeline, like a side-by-side of Trump saying that there's a type of voter fraud in a particular state, like dead people voting in Georgia, like a living person stealing a dead person's ballot and then voting on their behalf? He said that there were 10,000 in Georgia. The state governors, the legislators, Supreme Courts said that there were 2 tops, and then Trump repeating the same line anyway. Do you want to see Trump trying to talk about stuffed ballot boxes or 205,000 extra votes, I think, in Pennsylvania? People saying that didn't happen. Trump going on TV and saying that did happen. Trump basically getting shot down by so many different people. And these are all mostly Republicans, by the way. Republican legislators, Republican judges, Republican justices, Republican people from the DOJ, shooting him down. And then he just goes around and looks for other lawyers and eventually ends up with fucking Eastman and Cheesebro and Giuliani. Rhinos, nope, these are people who supported Trump. These are people who would vote for Trump again. Yep, Giuliani admitting that he was lying about the Dominion machines and said it was his First Amendment right to lie. Yep, because obviously these claims were watered the fuck down when they went to court. The fact that there's that lie that went around for a while that all of the cases were actually just thrown out on standing, but they weren't. They were thrown out on, even a lot of the ones that were thrown out on standing were also thrown out on, had the evidence considered as well. As in, courts that had the ability to throw out a case on standing reviewed the evidence anyway and reviewed the merits and still said there was nothing.
In conclusion, America has always been a nation won, built, and sustained by Americans of faith. It was faith that led the Pilgrims to cross an ocean and settle this majestic continent. It was belief in our Creator that led the patriots to defend their liberties in the war for independence. It was faith in America's God-given destiny that pushed the pioneers to journey west. And it was trust in God that led generations of American believers to end slavery, defeat fascism and communism, and make this into the greatest and most exceptional nation in the history of the world. But now, we are a nation.
Also, oh God, do you know that one of the worst ones? Do you know that that quote that this was the most secure election in American history? And I think Republicans just hear that and they're like, "Oh, that's a meme. That's not real." That quote came from the Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So the DHS had a Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which was actually set up by Trump. The people who said that came from. Like, the director was appointed by Trump, and he was fired because he said that the computer-based fraud was unsubstantiated. That claim was unsubstantiated. Like, these are Trump's people. These are Trump's appointees. These are agencies, in one case, that Trump set up. These are people who were supported Trump. These are people who Trump trusted all the way through his presidency. Yeah, these are the same people that told him that there was no evidence of voter fraud. And he went with it anyway. He just went with it.
In decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and its strength. We are a nation that has lost its way, but we are not going to allow this horror to continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. With our leadership, every disaster Joe Biden and Kamala...
So there's no context to him saying that. People said that there was context to him saying 4 more years in reference to him only having one more term. They won't need to vote for him anymore because he'll just fix up the country. Well, what if Democrats come in? Trump doesn't want to leave after 4 years. Trump doesn't even want to stay out of the presidency if he loses. I think he means that after 4 years' time, he would have served his 2 terms. So there's no need to vote for him anymore. He said you won't need to vote again because we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it all. Sorry, Alan Armitage Astley. Trump doesn't need to say any of this. Trump could mean what you're saying. It doesn't change the fact that Trump does not respect democracy unless he wins, which means he doesn't respect democracy. Trump wants to be a dictator. Trump wants to stay the president even if he loses. Yes. And he is willing to subvert the process of the United States of America, of the United States election process to do that. He is willing to exploit violence to do that. He is willing to lie to do that. He is willing to pressure people to do that. Yes, he's willing to break the law to do that. That's all true. This quote is just like, the funny thing about this quote is just him kind of saying it out loud. That's the only reason this quote's funny. Otherwise, this quote actually doesn't add anything to the story. It doesn't add any extra evidence. Like, we've got the evidence. The evidence is all there. Trump didn't deny any of it. Trump said, I was the president, so I should be immune. That was Trump's defense. Trump's defense was, give me immunity, please. This is America first. What do they say?
Unlike liberal Kamala, I will support Israel's right to win its war on terror. You have to support that. Got to win. Got to finish it off.
Finish the job.
And instead of pandering to the jihad sympathizers and America-hating radicals, we will deport them. We will deport them very quickly. We have no choice.
Now, I wonder if some of those people who get deported would be American citizens, or if this is a thing, because there are, if you want to find jihad sympathizers, like Hamas supporters amongst America, a lot of them would be white and American citizens. I have a feeling this one only refers to non-citizens or immigrants who have citizenship. I don't really know if that would be an equal opportunity deportation maneuver. Bro. Also, quite a lot of people who are not pro-jihad would get lumped in with that category anyway by people like Trump. Oh, God. I guess deport half of Wisconsin and Michigan. How do people think Republicans and Democrats are the same on this issue? God. How could you even deport a citizen? You couldn't legally, but Trump's tried to do a lot of things that you can't do legally. In the UK, what they did was that they stripped Shamima Begum of her citizenship because they had this theory that she could get Bangladeshi citizenship, even though she'd never been there, and Bangladesh didn't give her citizenship. So in the UK, we did it. No trial, nothing. Just made her stateless. Bam, bam. Do you think Kamala will be harder on Israel than Biden? Maybe, yeah. I don't think she'd be much harder, but yeah, I think there were some things that Biden did with those executive orders and the sanctions on the settlers that I think there could be a more amplified version of that. She won't do enough to keep the very far left people happy. She'll never do enough for them, but she'll do more, I think. That's probably where I stand. You guys aren't as armed as we Americans. They might be less likely to deport someone if they're fucking armed. Like a bunch of armed jihadis in America who can't be deported because they're too dangerous. I don't even know. Oh, God. I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. Trump is a failed dictator. You can still call him just a dictator. You don't get let off the hook for trying to coup the government just because you do it badly, just because you're incompetent. Actually, most like famous historical coups are failures. If not most, a lot of them are. The beer hall putsch was an incompetent failure. The Spartacist revolt was a failure. The Cap putsch was a failure. January 6th was a failure. Still an attempted coup, though. Or an auto coup is what they call it, isn't it? When you try to coup the government to keep yourself in rather than to come in. Anyway, how close to Trump would you rate Boris Johnson? I don't think Boris was that close to Trump. Rhetorically and in terms of aesthetics and strategy, quite similar. Boris isn't a dictator. Boris wants to be Winston Churchill. Whereas Trump wants to be... just in case Piers Morgan's listening, Trump wants to be the Hitler of 1933, okay? He might not want to be the Trump of 1939 or 41, but the Hitler of 33, I don't think he'd mind that. You know, law and order, authoritarian rule, violence, brown shirts, suppression of criticism, emergency rule, voter intimidation. Yeah, still quite some racism. I think that's the Hitler that Trump wants to be, yeah. Still think Mussolini's closer? Listen, that's just something people say to sound smart, okay? If you want to say that, then he's actually more like Papin or even like Hindenburg. Probably not Hindenburg, but whatever. Well done, guys. Yes, you know about more than one fascist dictator. I'm so proud of you guys. Mussolini's an ex-communist, okay? Come on. Were any fascist dictators former liberals? By the way, it's totally fine to call it a coup instead of an insurrection. I'm fine with that. Someone said that the difference is that insurrections need violence. That's not true. Not by American law, anyway. An insurrection can be to do with resisting a law that has nothing to do with the actual composition of the government. Like an insurrection can be like we're going to take up arms against this government building, like this legislature, and force them to legalize fucking crack, right? And that could be an insurrection. If you're using violence and there's an assemblage and they're targeting the government building and everything, they're targeting the government process. But a coup is like much more directed at you're changing the composition of government illegitimately and possibly violently. That's a coup. What was the riot then? It was a coup. It was a failed coup. It had a plan. It had planners. It It had a mob. It had a leader. It had all the things. There's a coup. The Whiskey Rebellion was an insurrection, but not a coup. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good summary. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Anyway,